Thank you.
Okay. Okay, it is 32 p.m. and we're calling to order the Housing Commission meeting for September the 26th, 2024. My name is Connie Cunningham. I'm the chair of the Housing Commission this year. This is our first meeting to be streamed live from the Quinlan Center. So hello and welcome to the viewers online. Email comments can be received at 4 o'clock on today to the Housing Commission at Cupertino.gov, and they will be posted to the city's website after the meeting. Oral public comments may be made during the public comment period for each agenda item. Members of the audience who address the commission must come to the lectern microphone and you are requested to identify yourself, but it is not required. We have 2 hours for this meeting, so to keep our meeting on time and effective, we will be establishing time limits, and commissioners prioritize any questions and comments to those questions and comments you're needed in order to make a decision on the agenda item in question. And I will discuss the process for agenda item 2 specifically when we get to item 2. So I guess now, if you would take the roll call, please.
Absolutely. First, we have Chair Cunningham,
Here.
Commissioner Goldsay,
Yes.
Commissioner He,
Here.
Commissioner Dr. Charlie,
Yes.
and currently Commissioner Dawes is not present. So we have 4 commissioners present. We have a quorum.
Okay. Thank you. The first agenda item is the approval of the minutes for April 25th, 2024. And so I will begin. So I will ask for comments. Do any of the commissioners? I can start with you, Vice Chair.
No comment.
No comments. Commissioner Heath. No comments. Comments. Commissioner Tadachari.
I don't have comments.
No comments. And I did not have any comments on it. I figured, well done. And since we have no public here, there are no comments. So I call for a motion.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Yes, I can.
Okay, and so now we can vote. Take the vote, please.
Yes. So when I call your name, please say aye or nay or withdraw. Chair Cunningham,
Aye.
Vice Chair Goldsay,
Got it.
Commissioner He,
Aye.
and Commissioner Dr. Charlie. Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, are there any postponements today?
Any sorry?
Are there postponements?
No.
No postponements? Okay, and oral communications. It appears there are no members of the public here to speak, so we have no oral communications. Okay. Are there any written communications?
None. We had not received any written communications from the public regarding any agendas for this meeting.
Okay, thanks. Is there any old business?
None that was continued from previous.
Thank you. So we are now at 5:35. And we can start on our new business, which is agenda item 2, an informational presentation on the program year 2023 Community Development Block Grant Report, which is called CAPER for short. The recommended action is to conduct a public hearing and then to approve the submission of the PY 2023 CAPER to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, otherwise known as HUD. So right now I'm going to go through how the public hearing will run. First, we'll have the staff report, be approximately 15 minutes. Then we'll have commissioner question and answers, 3 minutes apiece, and that should take about 15 minutes. And please limit your questions to those that will help you make your decision. Yes, your questions can be answered here while we're talking. Then nextly, the commissioner discussion from right after Q&A, 2 minutes apiece. And then if we have public that arrives in that time, we will have Q&A, which is 3 minutes. So then I will call the motion in a second and we'll have a vote. So, okay, so here we are at 5:37 and I think maybe please have the presentation.
You may. All right, yes, thanks very much for the instruction, Chair. Yes, so my name is Nikki Vu, Senior Housing Coordinator with the City of Cupertino. This is my first meeting with all of you, and this will be my first time presenting to you guys. So thank you so much for being here with me today. The topic of tonight's meeting is the program year 2023 caper. Very briefly, it's a very long title, but what it means, it's an annual report that we submit to the Department of Housing and Urban Development for all of our federally funded activities. The whole point of this paper is to make sure that we are being good stewards of federal funding, but also that we are keeping timeliness and meeting our long-range goals that we set out to achieve with this funding that is set forth in our consolidated plan. Right? So this is essentially 1 year of progress made using federal funding. And we're trying, the role of this commission, basically in reviewing the caper, is trying to determine the efficiency and effectiveness of the uses of public funding for achieving the goals that we set out to achieve in that plan. I just want to remind you guys, PY 2023, right? It's not calendar year, meaning this is a time frame starting from July 1st, 2023 to June 31st, 2024, not January to December. And this is year 4 of 5 of our 5-year consolidated plan. So theoretically, if we are, on track, we should be 80% of the way, right? Once this. So first, I want to remind you all what are the priority needs that were identified in our 5-year consolidated plan. This was done through, a lot of market research, economic research, discussions with the community, and they determined these 5 priority needs in the consolidated plan. First being the need of affordable housing. 2, preventing and assisting those experiencing homelessness. Community services, specifically low income resident community services. Fair housing, which is a catch-all term for essentially preventing housing discrimination. And then finally, economic development. And in this context, it was specifically in response to the COVID-19 outbreak. So we have our activities that we're going to discuss. In the program year, we have 4 subrecipients of CDBG funding. The first 2 fall underneath the CDBG public services category. So this is community services to low and moderate income residents of Cupertino. The first was Live Oak Adult Services. And the second is the West Valley Community Services. This is kind of what we call core services. They do general assistance to people, clothing, case management, them to jobs, mental health, all sorts of things. The second category was CDBG housing projects. So we funded together for housing repair and rehabilitation. That's doing low income homeowner rehabilitation, things they need fixed around the house, bring their housing up to code. And then the 4th item was the CDBG project, which was at the Cupertino Senior Center, which is the fire sprinkler replacement project. So let's look at the outcomes. For the first activity, Live Oak Adult Day Services, the goal was to serve 20 households throughout the year, and the activity throughout the year was 19. So they had 19 separate clients that were served, low-income clients that were served through their program. So that's 95% of the goal met. West Valley Community Services, their goal was to serve 100 unduplicated households with various low-income general services. And overall, they hit and exceeded that goal, 124 households. In our housing projects, Rebuilding Together Silicon Valley had the goal of serving 9 households with rehabilitation projects, and they exceeded that goal as well, serving 9 households throughout the year. Our CDBG capital project for the Cupertino Senior Center is still underway. Currently, our Public Works Department has an engineering firm selected, and they're in the middle of contract negotiations. Next, we'll be putting it out to competitive bid for a contractor. The tentative completion date is still May. So that one, we don't have any deliverables yet to report in terms of people being served, but it is still underway and on. So let's compare that with the consolidated plan goals that that's being served, right? By these activities. So we can see out of the six that are identified on the screen, there's homeowner rehabilitation, rental unit rehabilitation, frail and elderly services, services for low income families, fair housing. And then the last one, community development needs COVID-19 response, which is economic development. 4 of the 6 have been addressed through our CDBG activities of this year. So we're making progress at 4 out of the 6 consolidated plan goals during this year's activities. In addition to this, we should mention that there are some non-CDBG funded activities that we do to supplement our CDBG activities, which also in a way count for us achieving our goals. And I just want to briefly describe them here as well. So through our below market rate services, we fund Project Sentinel. They do fair housing enforcement and landlord dispute resolution. So that helps us achieve our fair housing goal. And then in grant services, we fund the Catholic Areas on Hudson. This is legal representation for individuals who are living in long-term care facilities. So that is both actually a housing goal and a senior services goal. We have Maitri, which is our domestic violence shelter and transitional housing program, which is homelessness, also sort of transitional housing. Senior adults legal assistance for seniors. This is another senior activity. And then West Valley Community Services Haven to Home program. They provide case management and services to individuals experiencing homelessness. So this helps us with the homelessness. So these goals, they don't get reported in the caper because they're not federally funded. This is more for you guys, so you can see how we're meeting our goals outside of just federal funding as well. And almost all of those, they've been exceeding, right, their annual goals. Which means they're very efficient, essentially, with their funding, is what this means. So next steps, after the commission deliberates on this report, staff would take the caper and then submit it to Ed. Their deadline is actually tomorrow. So we're after that, you get to move forward with getting ready with the next year activities. So now I want to open it up to the commission for any questions they have, and
Well, thank you very much. Excellent, presentation, very helpful, and it added a lot to the meeting.
yes.
And as a matter of fact, I like to read it concise. So what I would do now is that, we can start the commissioner Q&A. And like I was mentioning before, 3 minutes or so. You want to go first with questions? Okay, Commissioner McKee?
Yeah, so I think on the CDBG capper, I saw that the percentage of health families, 46.1% were white and 27.6% were Asian. And I checked Cupertino demographics, it seems like 70% were Asian and 24% were white. So I just wanted to hear more about this, data, maybe, more low income families are white or this kind of differences.
It's a great question. When it comes to delivery of service, right, we have to specifically focus on the low income, residences that kind of already kind of come to these nonprofits. So while there may be a discrepancy in sort of demographics of the overall city versus who's getting served in these programs, these should kind of be more disparately focused on the overrepresented sort of populations that are in the low income bracket, right? So you'll typically see a lot more Hispanic and a lot more African American families being served as well. In addition to that, that's generally reflective more of like the different kind of income distributions in Cupertino.
May also have a factor, I think, too, that the white population in Cupertino is generally much older. So I think that could also, having just gone through the housing element. Because you're right, I think the Asian population is like 68, 69%.
Right.
But like a lot of Santa Clara County, the white population tends to skew much older. The median age is much higher.
And many of our services are senior focused. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good question. Do you have other questions before I go to someone else?
I do have other questions. I actually have a couple of them, but we can have another one before someone else jump in. So I wanted to ask on page 4 of the same CDBG cover. I saw that there's expected strategic plan and expected program year, and it seems like a very big differences. What are the differences between the two?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so the program year, right, is just basically whether or not these activities are able to meet their annual goals that they set out to do.
Okay.
Strategic plan is essentially how far they're doing as if they were year 4 of the 5-year plan. Right?
I see.
So it's kind of like taking their 5-year sort of expected goals to see how close they are to meeting those as well. So there's like a difference, right? It should look like you're only meeting those about like 70%, 80% of the way. That's to be expected at year 4 or 5 of a 5-year.
Are there any other commissioners that would like to ask a question at this time?
Homeowner rehabilitation, again on that same table. What is this homeowner rehabilitation? Like, is it helping the homeowners who belong to low income to keep up with maintenance so that it doesn't become deferred maintenance, or?
It's helping them, what I understand, it helps them stay in their house and deal with maintenance issues so that they don't either end up in homeless or into other housing options. So as an
it's to
agent,
keep up with
yeah,
maintenance.
correct.
And the second question is that it's a general question, maybe that's the way it's written. The last column says percentage complete, but all of them seem to be more than 100% complete. So what does that mean?
Oh, yeah, okay. So their annual goals, right, in their contracts, they set out to do, say, like 9 different households, right? And what we're finding is that our nonprofit service agencies, they're very efficient with their funding. They're serving more than that. So they're hitting like 150% of their annual goals. So their goal would show up in the caper as 150% complete.
Wait, so that means percentage complete is, let's say, when you started up the effort, you had $90,000 allocated against it, and you had 9 houses. So that means, did you get more than what you needed, or you actually did more than 9 with the 90,000?
The second one. The second one. Yeah, they were more efficient with the funding than anticipated. Yes.
Right. It's just the 2 columns to the left of percent complete. It's
Yes.
the difference between those
Yeah.
two.
Yeah.
So I have one, I would like to send you the corrections that I have. A couple of corrections, I think it's more language related.
Okay.
One thing which I.
May I just make a suggestion for the future, if I might interrupt you just momentarily, and then of course finish your questions. But for those kinds of questions, I really encourage you to call in advance. I know Nikki would verify that. I called them in
Yeah,
advance
but
and
it
asked
was-
you all kinds of those kind of questions. It makes it much.
I understand, but
So
I had-
go ahead, please.
Yeah, I had my own problems, so that I could not attend to it until today.
Oh, okay, well,
And even today I had,
I should have known.
yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
Thank you, go.
Yeah, so I'm very, what I would say, I'm very committed to Housing Commission. And you can be 100% sure I will follow up. I used to do it with Alec, so this is not an issue. So the thing which I have is, one thing which I wanted to point out, which is outside of that, is that I wanted the staff presentation to be uploaded so that, the public can see the staff presentation.
Oh, yes. I can reach out to the clerk's office and have them upload this after the meeting. Yeah, check it out.
So pretty much they have done, I think, only 2 corrections. I'll just send you after the meeting.
Thank you. That's appreciated.
So that you can fulfill your goal of September 27th.
Absolutely. That's what we're gonna do. You know, deadlines.
Okay.
Yes.
So on page 9, I see that number of households supported, number of homeless households. To be provided affordable housing units, and also numbers of special needs households to be provided affordable housing units, they're both limited. I just wanted to ask, like, is it just like, there's not that many of those people, like, special needs household, or?
It's not a measure of need, it's a measure of deliverables that we had that. And so when it comes to what we did specifically with CDBG funding, you can really only point to what Commissioner Doss said. Our rehabilitation programs, it's essentially preventing someone from being displaced out of their home. If you're low income and you can't afford to fix anything in the house, if it goes substandard, right? It's not habitable anymore, you'd have to leave. So by doing that, we are in a sense kind of preventing like displacement and providing home. And so that is what we're tracking in that chart, right? We're saying, okay, there are 9 homes, non-homeless families that were provided housing. Right? That's the first one. Then the second is how did we do it? Through rehabilitation. Yeah.
So can I understand it that we just don't have the programs included in the CDBG that helps specifically the homeless and the special needs, that's why they don't appear in the statistics?
That's why it doesn't appear in this report, right? Because this report is specifically for reporting on CDBG funded activities. I mean, we do have, some programs that address homelessness, right? And you saw the Haven to Home program, for example, but that wouldn't be reported in this, right? Because it's not, that's going to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have other deliverables that are specific to the homeless situation, but it's just not in this report.
It's not in that report because it's not a CDBG funding. That's right. Yeah. But that's why I also wanted to include in the presentation so you guys could kind of get a overall picture of what we're doing with our funding. Yeah.
My last question is, hopefully last. So this is page 22.
Yes.
Are all the values are zero? Is that normal? Except we were going to report something.
Oh, the very last page. You're referring to section 3. I can describe that. Section 3 is a labor requirement. It's something that's done whenever there is a contracted bid for a public infrastructure project. HUD wants the contractor to make a well-documented effort to have low-income local hires working on the project. So low-income local laborers, stonemason, electricians, kind of like going in on the project. The thing is, our one capital project is still in negotiations. So there's been 0 hours worked by laborers on it so far. That's why it's 0 currently. But there will be some to report next time.
I was wondering, because I had that same question when I
Yes.
talked to you, is there a way like down in that little narrative place for you just to explain that?
Yeah.
Because it really does look odd.
Yeah.
To me, I thought it was all those zeros must have applied to the thing right above,
Yes.
because that's when I talked to you about it, and then you explained it. But it seems that since 2 of us had it, then maybe that little part was for the narrative.
Yes.
You could explain why it's all zeros and it's not to do with the BED.
Yeah.
It's to do with.
Yeah, I can take that in and I can definitely add that.
Okay.
And for our submission tomorrow, just explaining that,
Yeah.
our one capital project is still in negotiation, so we don't have labor hours yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, what? So this only is for capital projects. It's not for the services provided.
No. Section 3 is a labor requirement only for construction.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it's a union thing. Yeah, it has to do with the trades, so, yeah.
So by next year, it'll probably look different because
It'll
of the
look
senior center.
Yeah. It'll look different, yes.
I think I'm done. Like last week.
Thank you, Commissioner Tachari. Vice Vice Chair, please, you have any questions?
No, I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, just 1 second on that, which is, has everybody asked all their questions?
I have a
Commissioner
question that's related to the specific, CDBG, capital report. I saw that Cupertino doesn't have public housing on page 14, which is why it says not applicable. I just wanted to ask, like, would there be a public housing in the future in Cupertino? Any plans related to that?
We don't currently have plans to do additional public housing. It comes down to a matter of funding, right? What's available to do public housing with. It's the prerogative of this commission. You can make a comment saying that you'd like to see more. And maybe we can talk about it, in future agenda settings. But currently with CDBG, it's just not really that feasible to do, right? Because it's $300,000 a year that we have to spend out very quickly. It's hard to do public housing with that much money.
If I might just build on your question then, because that is interesting, and there's something very specific about public housing in the law, I think, too. I mean, it separately from this, because I have looked at it more as a global too, as opposed to just the CDBG funding, but certainly understanding there's not really enough money from CDBG to fund anything like that. But it is an interesting question for the city as a whole, and I not go out too far over my skis, but I do know that there are many laws that get into that. So that's a very interesting question, follow up. So, okay. Thank you very much, Commissioner, for all your questions.
I would like to follow up on that.
Okay,
So
we have time. Go ahead.
is it okay?
Yes,
We
it is.
still have time. So the question I have is that there's a identified site on Mary Avenue.
Yes.
That construction, would it be considered as public housing or will it be a contractor? I mean,
So that one, right now, I can give you guys a little update there. We've entered into like exclusive negotiations with housing. They're a nonprofit developer, right? So it's on public land. It would be developed by a nonprofit, and then it would be 100% affordable when it's complete. So not public housing, but public land and affordable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Be similar, I think, Duran.
Right.
It's also, I think, charities was involved in that. So this is, I think it's like it's all very low income, I think 50% intellectually, developmentally disabled. It's 2019 and the way it's proposed now.
That's what I understand.
And it would be a long-term, like a 99-year lease where the city would maintain ownership. But it wouldn't be
Right.
public housing.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like the questions have been completed, so I thank you all for your very insightful questions. And so we will close the Q&A. And so it's now 5:58, and so what we can enter into now is commission discussions. Not the time for more questions, but the time for discussion about approval or not approval. That would be where we are right now. And I guess I don't know, it's chair, I'm supposed to speak first. So I'll hold my comments and I can allow Commissioner Tadachari, if you would like to discuss anything about the approval or not approval.
I just, I'm going to send some corrections to as long as they are incorporated. It's all mostly cosmetic kind of thing, like water.
So it doesn't really affect approval.
Effect, yes.
Okay, thank you for
It
that.
doesn't stain the substance.
Thank
I
you.
think she, I think.
Yes, thank you very much. And Commissioner Dawes, you're good? Okay, Commissioner Heath? And you had mentioned that you were ready to make a motion, so you would like to make a motion, that'd be great.
So I move to recommend approval of the fiscal year 23 consolidated annual performance and evaluation report.
Second,
Second. Okay, and so can you call the vote?
Certainly. So when I say your name, please say I name or what's the name. I also just want to add that Commissioner Dawson, first we're going to be taking roll call.
Okay.
Okay, first Chair Cunningham,
Uh,
Vice Chair Bolzay,
Aye.
Commissioner Lee, Commissioner Doss, and Commissioner Tatachari.
I,
The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you very, very much for your input and for the result that we have. So the next that we have on the agenda is staff and commission reports. And I understand, Nikki, that you have a staff report that you would like to give.
Sure, it's just agenda setting for the next meeting, so you guys are all prepared. Next meeting will be in October 24th. It'll be one of our more substantial meetings. A couple of things are on the agenda. So as you guys have heard, we just finished year 4 or 5 of our last consolidated plan meeting. Now we are in a final year. It's time to start development of our new 5-year consolidated plan. So that's gonna be kicked off with some public hearing outreach, hopefully in collaboration with the Housing Commission, if we can get that in time. So they may be doing a presentation to you guys at the next meeting, is what that means. Second, we have our next year's NOFA announcement for funding. It's going to be the start of another 2-year cycle for our public services. So it'll be our housing NOFA and our public service NOFA. Doing something maybe a little different this year is I'm inviting our nonprofit applicants to appeal to the commission to, if they want to, especially if there's new applicants as well, to, describe the need that they see in the community as they apply to help you guys with your deliberations on their applications. And then finally, third, in the works, you guys have talked about this previously before I came to the city, but there are some BMR rental units that are hitting their expiration dates in 2026. And there was talk about developing a new policy on what to do for tenants in those units. And also in our housing element, we described the need of putting in more tenant protections to prevent displacement. This all kind of goes in line together with the Housing Commission's kind of new expanded role out with the areas that don't have to do with development that would normally go to Plan Commission, right? So that is, we anticipate coming to the commission also or not.
And for all three of them, excuse me, all three of these will be heard on the same meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Does the commission have any announcements?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we do have mayor commission, the mayor's meeting with commissioners that happens every month. So since it's been so long since, our last meeting, there might not be a lot to report, but I will say that on the May 15th, I went to the one that was held in the Quinlan Center. And basically, the big thing was that, for those of you who are not aware, Vice Chair, Goals and I both attended the ribbon cutting ceremony for the new Westport 48 unit senior low income housing. So that was really nice to see something in our city that got built and is and it has been already marketed and people are there. So that was an exciting time. So that is all from the May 15th one. And I didn't know if there was anything that you saw in the next to the July 17th and September 18th meetings that would be reasonable.
The first one was just basically that we hadn't met over the summer, and then the thing 3 highlighted, Nikki and I reviewed
Oh,
and
okay.
presented to the mayor.
Oh, okay, very good. I guess lastly, at least what I did, on all of our behalf. But of course, with the help of both, Alec Biberall and with, Nikki View, I presented to the city council on September 17th about what we've been doing for the past 2 years. So since most of you have been here for 2 years, you know what that all consisted of. But the final bullet is future focused, and I wanted to share that with you because you would not be aware of that, which is came under the heading of what we plan on doing. And this is to receive proposals for housing policy implementations of the housing element. The housing element was approved September 4th, 2024. And at that time, and I said it when we saw him the first time in April 25th, and you were there, I always do a shout out for the extraordinary achievement that staff did and city council did to make that happen, that we have a housing element that has now been approved by the state. And then we can now move forward on and provide more housing. And especially, well, not especially, because all housing is good and wonderful, but the BMR housing, which is part of our charter. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you that on Tuesday, September 17th, I made that presentation for the council. Oh, I think that's all, unless somebody else, did anyone else visit or something that you want to report out on? Is there-
One of the other commissioners that was present commended you on your presentation.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so thank you. And so moving along, the last item on the agenda is future agenda setting. And just as a comment to remind us all that these aren't discussion items, they're just points to be made about things that we would like to see on an agenda in the future. So therefore, if there's anything you would like to discuss, to put on, not discuss, right? If you would like to specify as a possibility for the future agenda, please go ahead and talk about that now.
But I just would like to say that I'd like to see updates on what we're still doing on an ongoing basis as we address the homelessness situation in Cupertino.
And I wanted to see public housing to start a discussion of it.
To see what that's about. Okay, public housing.
I'm taking that, thank you.
There was a point that I was then I'd asked this question of you, and you were talking about, other housing policies currently taking priority, such as the expiring unit displacement policy. Is that what you're talking about?
Right, yeah, that's what I
That's
was
very
starting,
thin.
because you had
Yeah.
initially had asked me whatever happened to,
Mhm.
you know,
Well,
us, like a rental assistance.
rental assistance.
It's something that is mentioned in the housing element, right? The thing is, staff bandwidth, you gotta take this one. This is currently right now our priority, just because we have a deadline on these units expiring in 2026.
Oh, absolutely.
So-
I'm good with that. I'm absolutely good with that. Displacement is the worst.
Yes.
Because people have been living there and
Yeah.
they've set up their lives and there's looking, and so it's best if we can follow displacement entirely. But anyway, so that was that question. But yes, the tenant protections.
Yes, second.
Well, I don't know what that is, it looks like as an agenda item, because it's something that I've talked about all during the housing element. But I know that there's specifics that if I were be interested in that specific, I should bring that forward. So I won't discuss it tonight, but that is something that I'll consider for the future. Okay.
Yeah, one item I wanted to suggest is that, we have this report submitted about the repairs needed for the senior center.
Mm.
So it was never discussed, the report was never discussed. So is that some way we can slate it so that we can understand the components of that particular report? Because there are some different items reported there, and it's anyway going to be awarded as a contract. So just to get an understanding, maybe staff can give a presentation or something like that.
I didn't, presentation on which thing?
There was a report which forms the basis of the work being done at the senior center. The senior center,
Okay. I just didn't hear what topic you were talking
Yeah.
about,
so the senior center, I believe, they say that, if they have to redo the senior center as of that date, which it was not dated, but I came to know that it was 2022, that report. Then, if it was to be redone, it would have cost $19 million. So instead of that, they suggested that we do the necessary fixes and upgrades. And that was priced out as something like 3 million or something, 3 million odd.
So
So-
now we understand, so we won't want to discuss it completely, but we do understand from the previous meeting
Yeah.
what it is you're talking about.
So just if staff can talk to the, the report, it'll clarify to us, because this is the one-time issue, but the thing is that, in case if similar things have to be done in the past, the future, we will.
Mhm.
I think I know what he's talking about. I think he's referencing the public works infrastructure, like sort of rating and like analysis document where they kind of go through all the different
Yeah.
public buildings and see what needs to be fixed and how much it costs, right? And like how much.
Yeah, actually, this was contracted out.
Yes.
This was a report generated
Oh,
by,
CDBG.
no, the repairs to the maintenance of senior center.
Right.
Oh,
They
I
were
thought you were talking about the air conditioning.
They were talking about the HVAC units, the
Yeah,
presentation
HVAC.
that we had,
Yeah.
and also and then the fire alarm, and that was where that came up for that update. But are you saying there was an actual report generated and you wanted to see an update on that?
There was a report generated, but it was never discussed, because, all through the 3-4 years that I've been here.
Oh.
It was in 2022.
We can certainly put it on the list of things to consider for the future. I'm not sure it's totally within our bailiwick, but.
No,
it's
I don't
certainly something, we can't discuss it because I said, didn't I say, that I won't discuss it. I'm just saying that we can put it there. and- But just topics.
I can take a look into it. I think most likely what'll come out of it is I'll talk to our CIP manager and get a she produces this public infrastructure kind of like ranking report on like what are the facilities that most need repairs. That's probably what informed, I mean, I wasn't here in 2022, but I'm assuming that's probably what informed both the priorities for the senior center when they were creating these projects.
Yeah, I think Susan was at that meeting.
She gave us a report.
Right. So I think we could follow up with Susan.
Yeah, we'll follow with Susan. Yeah.
Okay, so if that is all of
That's it.
them, then I can say that it is 6:11. on September 26th, and the housing commission is. Well,
Okay, could I get a motion and second for,
pardon?
could I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
Is that typically not done?
And seconded for which? Closing the meeting?
Yeah,
Closing it is.
Fine with me.
I don't know.
It typically is not done.
Then we're good.
We're good. Look, I think the chairs.
Oh,
chair-
we just close it, but I don't think-
Right. But it's Nikki's first, the different cities do different.
Yeah.
Nikki was trying to add more steps to the process.
Technically, you don't need to have everything done, but that's fine, if we don't.
Hit the gavel.
Okay, excellent, then at 6:11 we have adjournment.
Okay, since we're adjourned, we can just check.
I guess with the angle of the sun, it's not too soon.
No,
So, come right in.